something else happening. Ah, okay. So for everyone who is here, I just want to make sure that we are going live. I have actually no way of knowing.
If I go to the link on YouTube, will that work that you gave
Yes.
me?
Yes, and I am on the Oh, okay. No, we're here. All right, we are live.
Ah, okay, sweet. Awesome.
Thank you. Okay, we are live. Great. Great. That's live.
Oh, yeah, I
And
can
I'm
see
going to
us.
have to silence that one. Great. All right,
Oh,
I'm closing that down. Thank you so
me
much.
too.
Welcome to Her Brave Story podcast. This is a space where we have conversations that spark courage, heal, and celebrate the brave in every woman. And today I am so excited to have Katie Stephenson here with us in the studio live. These are live running experiments. So thank you for your patience and your time. If you have just landed here, welcome back. And to those of you who are new, I'm so grateful that you chose to tune in today because you're in for a treat. We have mother, author, entrepreneur, Reiki healer, and brave woman in the world in our studio, Katie Stephenson. And today we're going to be talking story with her about what she's been up to lately and her new book and her first book and
Mm.
how she's self published this book herself and how this book came about. So I'm going to take it over to Katie. Welcome, Katie. Thank you so much for being with me here today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's an absolute joy, and yeah, we're really in the I don't know, the pointy end of the project at the moment. So there's lots going on, and I will absolutely let you know that my brain is actually quite frazzled. So let's just see how today goes. How well I can articulate my words.
I'm sure you're going to do great. And as a mother, I can just say I relate as well. On top of the mothering and the lifing, you're also bringing into the world another new project. So, congratulations on this. And
Thank you.
today we came here in particular to talk story about your book, Perfectly
Mm,
Imperfect.
yeah.
And I've already been getting messages from people wondering about your book and asking
Aw.
questions. So that's so exciting. And I just love to invite you to share about Perfectly Imperfect and how this book came about and who.
Yeah. Yeah, well, um, before this was a picture book, it was a poem. And I've actually written in the back of the book that before it was a poem, it was a whisper. And the whole book is it's a love note from a mother to her children,
Hmm.
um, about being imperfect and about embracing imperfection, but using the wisdom of Mother Nature to remind us every day, that we're supposed to be imperfect, and that we're sort of a mirror of nature, I guess. But this book, so the book, like I said, was a poem that I wrote last year around Mother's Day as well, which is, no coincidence that it's coming out the week before Mother's Day, which is when the poem did last year. So it's been a full year cycle. Um, and the poem was written in the early mornings of the morning. And I think it was my own heart that was needing that reassurance.
Hmm.
And whenever I'm journaling and my words start to rhyme, I really feel that it's my nan coming through because she was a writer and a poet. And as soon as I start writing and it starts like getting a bit rhythmic, I'm like, oh, nan's here, you know? And so I really feel that this was a message that I needed to hear myself and that I wanted to give
Hmm.
my children. But it was actually in time for a conference that I was speaking at where I was talking about imperfection and about our children really not needing mothers to be perfect, but instead to be on purpose. And so I used that poem to sort of support the message that I was already speaking about. So within my business, I kind of live and breathe the blessing of imperfection, because we all need it. The more that we can acknowledge and accept and embrace the fact that we're not meant to be perfect, it just releases so much pressure in every capacity. And so, anyway, in motherhood, I think we all know that that comes through thick and fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's, part of my overall message is to meet that perfection with compassion. Um, and yeah, so the book was a poem, and it wasn't until a girlfriend of mine said, Katie, this needs to be a kid's book. And I thought, oh, I hadn't even thought of that. But because I worked in early childhood for 13 years, I had kids' books come through me in that time. And it was one of those things that in the playground would be reflecting with educators, or things would come up, and you'd think, oh, that'd be a great kids' book. And of course, I never did it just because I didn't have that sense of, I don't know, worthiness and feeling capable, or just like a whole bunch of things. I just wasn't ready. It wasn't the time. And unfortunately, those books, there's only one that I can remember, and I can't really remember it that well, you know? Um, but anyway, things come and they go. And in the end, it was one of those things where a lot of my friends that have known me a long time, when I told them, oh, I'm going to do a kid's book, they were like, Katie, you've been wanting to do this for years. This is your thing. So that was really reassuring to hear that from the women that have known me from the beginning, that I've got that in me. And so very quickly I jumped on the idea and I was like, yep, I'm going to make this a kid's book. And a year later, and it's coming to print, and I'm like terrified. I'm excited and terrified.
Wow. Well, massive congratulations. I love hearing that you've had this inside of you. You've had this dream inside of you for a while now, that it's been an ongoing, and your friends were able to identify it. People around you were able to see it and say,
Mm,
this is so you. You should do this and go for it. I'd love to go back to this poem.
yep.
And how you said this is something that you created for a special event, this poem, and that's how the book came forward. Can you tell us a little bit about that event and who it was for?
Yeah,
Mm,
absolutely.
mm,
And I have to give a huge shout out to JC Primer, Dr. JC Primer, I should say, a chiropractor in my town, in Newcastle. She's incredible and specializes in children and women and mothers and pregnancy. And she has a real huge heart for the village,
yeah.
and supporting women in that. And really, so and there's a couple of years where I've spoken at this event. It's called the fourth trimester. And she really brings together a whole bunch of professionals that
Mhm.
support mothers, and we all come together and we share our insight and we offer our tools so that we can create a modern day village,
Mm.
for women that might not have that. And so that was the conference that I spoke at. And I'm so grateful for that opportunity, actually, because it's, I mean, in business, it can be really lonely, we're just one on one. And for me, being a part of a team and being a part of something that's bigger than me is really important. A sense of belonging is my deepest inner child yearning. And so being a part of the fourth trimester conference has been incredible for so many reasons. And I loved being able to bring that message of, embracing imperfection to the community, really. I think it's something that we all need to hear, but especially mums that are just diving into motherhood or the next stage of motherhood. You know, those
Mm.
days when the days are long, the nights are long, you know, the same four walls get really stale, and it's just that feeling of like, oh yeah, that's right, coming back to my why, and feeling supported. So the poem I actually wrote up as a print, don't have it here. Um, and I offered that to women so they could have something on their wall, because I know the power of visuals. Again, early childhood, we use visuals with children all the time so they can remember things,
Yeah.
and when we're adults, we need it just as much. So having words that are speak to your heart, that are powerful, that are impactful, encouraging, are so valuable to have on your
Mm.
wall.
Mm.
And that's how it started, this poem. And it actually it actually piggybacks another poem. I'm not sure if you've listened to it, Crystal, but it's a much longer poem, and the two of them kind of work hand in hand around um, the depth of motherhood, really.
Oh,
Mm.
wow. And is this other poem also on your Instagram or somewhere we can find it and link to it in the show notes?
Yeah, yep.
Okay,
I did
perfect.
again last Mother's Day, because that's when it all came out. I did a video where I spoke the poem.
Hmm.
And in the back of my book, I've got both of the poems written there. So you can have it, if you grab a book, you'll see in the back that it's got both poems. And I explain that the book is like a reflection, or it comes from the collection, the two poems. But
Beautiful.
I can give you a link to that one as well, and you can watch it. It's just a post on Instagram at the moment. But I do plan to re-release that this Mother's Day for the hearts that need to hear it.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And I love this story of, I'm sorry that your mentor or your a colleague, doctor, the woman who had the
Um,
conference.
yeah,
Yeah.
Dr. JC, she's a chiropractor.
Yeah, well, Dr. JC, how she's bringing people together too. And I mentioning this space here that you're talking about, women coming together, the power of that, and
Mm.
how you being amplified by a friend also helped you take that next step. It's so wonderful to hear of women lifting one another up, encouraging each other,
Mm.
and seeing the greatness in you. Because isn't it
Mm.
true that sometimes we don't even see our own greatness? And it can take someone else reflecting back and saying,
Mhm.
this is you, or you need to come to this conference, or I want you to speak at this, or come
Mm.
on the podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very true. It's people need people, hey?
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, so valuable. And I can only imagine how many women were there who received your message and how many more are going to get to receive it now in your
Yeah.
beautiful book, Perfectly
Yeah.
Imperfect.
Yeah.
And
Thank
this,
you.
yeah, this project too, Perfectly Imperfect, the book, is something that you got to work on with your family as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Yeah. I invited my children to help me to co-illustrate,
Mm.
and they loved it. They're the most patient little beings. They've waited a whole year to see this project come into fruition, and that's a long time for little Liz. But it's been really fun watching their connection to art, and their sort of awareness around what we can do as a team. And it's yeah, they're really excited to see the book come out, and I've asked them to sign some copies, and they're just like, ah, I'm famous. So cute. Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful as well. Because are you an illustrator or were you an illustrator prior to this, Katie? Is
Nah.
that something that was part of your life?
No, I've always
Mm.
been arty, and my dad was a designer. He was very creative, and but no, I've just been I have been creating for a long time and
Mm.
drawing. And you know, one of the best things that I think a seed that has been planted in me that I will always be grateful for was one of my high school teachers encouraged us to keep an art journal.
Mm.
Um, and so I did that all through high school, and it really was a therapy for me. I remember even looking back at it and thinking, whoa, some of the stuff that came out of me. And it was a great way for my teacher, because it was a school project, or not project, but activity, I guess, expectation. And he would sort of read through it for us, because it was an art school thing. But I got into it so much that he ended up having to check on me, because of some of the stuff that I was going through in high school was pretty intense
Mm.
in the background, and I was letting it all out in my art and in my writing. And I'll never forget that, him caring and seeing it and going, wow, are you okay? And then when I left, I continued to do that art journal. And I just have, I mean, there's been seasons of my life definitely where I haven't had an art journal on me, but for a long, like for the most part, I reckon I've had an art journal sort of on the go in the background, picking it up, putting it down. And I think that's not only helped my art practice, but it's really ingrained that sense of identity and somewhere to let it all out,
Yeah.
and so yeah, no, I haven't been. I'm not. I wouldn't say I'm an artist or a whatever. But I just love to create and draw. So yeah, I just kind of. I mean, the essence of the book is all about imperfection. So
Mm-hmm.
it was almost too easy to, like, it was hard to say no, like I didn't have to make it perfect. I just had to sort of get some stuff on the paper. Um and if this book, I'm not out to go big with it or anything. For me, this is a love letter to my lineage, and even if it goes down to my grandchildren, and not only the message of the book, but the feeling of, oh, if Nan did that, I can do that, which is what I have, because my Nan is the same. I've had people publish in within my family, so I feel that sense of, like, if we can do it, you can do it. Um, and that's kind of what I hope for this book. So it was easy to do because I didn't have to feel like it needed to be perfect.
Hmm. And the total essence behind it, as you said, and
Mm,
and that's something that's really powerful for all of us, and it's really a part of this conversation that we can dive into now about perfectionism and how this book came to you in a way that was calling you. And yet I imagine there were things that said, oh, I can't do it, I need to wait, I need to get an illustrator, I need to get a, I don't know how to publish, for example, which is
hmm.
something you're doing now. And
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. There were big times where I wanted to give up and thought this is just too much. But I used the message of the book, and one of my personal ethoses, which is, put my why over my how. And
mm-hmm.
all I needed to do was look at the little faces of my babies and just do it for them, And like I
Yeah.
said, my why it has to be bigger than your how. And I think
Mm.
if you can have a very clear why and very true, like, it really has to make meaning to you,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it will just drop. And I've experienced that in many other areas of my life. But for this, my why was so solid that it kept me going. um, and whenever like I said, my children were the big why, but I just kept coming back to a quote that my Reiki master, actually, Karen Harrison, would always say: you are resourceful, you are resourceful,
Mm-hmm.
this, just remembering
Mm-hmm.
that you can figure it out. Like, and so with support, I was able to figure it out. I just had to ask.
No, I love that. You can figure it out. You are resourceful.
Mm,
We coming into a resourceful state too, isn't it? What I'm
mm,
hearing is to get back into that resourceful state is connecting deeper into the why. Why am I doing this? Why am I showing up? It's got to be bigger than yourself, as you said. You had something so much bigger that kept you
mm.
going. And is that something that's helped you with your own perfectionismness, or do you even have perfectionismness, or
Yeah.
perfectionism? Do you struggle? Have you ever struggled with that? Is that something that this book is really speaking to?
Oh, big time. I think we all do. I don't think any human escapes perfectionism.
Mm.
In like, it shows up in different ways, it shows up in different times. Um Yeah, perfectionism is a big one for me because look, I don't know, we've all got our story with it, but um yeah, it's there's a part of like a big part of me that feels like I need to know everything before I can do it.
Mm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
and that it's yeah, it's funny because in some ways I'm so far from being perfect. I'm not like the OCD type who needs things to be straight or neat as
Mm-hmm.
such, but then when I want something to be a certain way, I am so particular about it.
Mm-hmm.
um and this book, like, I shit you not, every page in this book has brought something up for me
Yeah.
because it's like I've had to really overcome different parts of perfectionism throughout the book, and really kind of dive into my connection to the elements of nature and how that does
Mm-hmm.
um, show up in my life, and whether that's authentic. One funny thing, actually, in Newcastle, it's just been pouring down for days, and we've had flooding, and it's been full on.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
and I was talking to the family last night. I said, "Do you know what we forgot to put in the book?" I said, "We forgot to talk about rain." And there is a page in there where it has rain as the image, but it's not about the message of rain. And so we sat at the dinner table and we talked about, well, what is the message of rain? Like, what does rain
Mm.
teach us? And it was such a good conversation. But I had to really just kind of surrender into well, I've forgotten a page in the book. I could have added that in, but I mean, where do you stop?
Yeah.
I did add in
Yeah.
extra pages because I forgot about fire and I forgot about wind. And so I was like, I've got to add more. Anyway, it was just one of those things, and rain is something that we have to surrender into. It teaches us patience and yeah, surrender. So I don't know. I don't even know what you asked now.
Beautiful. Well, this is all part of the unpacking of perfectionism, isn't it? It's being okay to
Yeah.
say, I actually don't know what you asked, and what were we talking
Yeah.
about now?
Yeah.
Even just taking a moment to acknowledge that how far you've come in your own
Mm,
self, and for me too, even starting this podcast was a huge part of overcoming that and waiting for the right time and needing all the things to be in place and needing certain things in my life to line up so I can relate to what you're saying. And for all of our listeners tuning in now and later, I just want to we want to speak to that too, and we're deeply listening around what tools you have for perfectionism too. As you said, so many of us, if not all of us, are succumb to perfectionism in some capacity throughout our lives, and if not even on a daily basis.
for sure. Yeah. And I think that the key is really holding it with compassion. And in fact, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's the last page of the book.
Yeah.
And um it's not because, in trying to not be perfect, you try to perfect that. There's just this
Yeah.
endless kind of like endless thing of like, well, if I'm trying to be perfect or I'm trying not to be perfect. So then it's just like this constant battle of trying, and you're trying to perfect whatever it is. And so I think that for me, it's actually holding that perfection with compassion.
Mm.
And that's the difference, I think, because it's not about not being perfect or not trying to be perfect, like, because it comes from somewhere. You generally, it comes from such a good space. Most of the
Mm.
time it's
Mm-hmm.
us showing that we really care about something,
Yeah.
whether it's we care about the thing that we're trying to perfect, like the podcast or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or we're trying to perfect, I don't know, the house by keeping it clean. Where it's not the house that we care about, it's our pride and it's our self-worth. Like, we care
Mm-hmm.
about that, so we're trying to protect ourselves. We're trying to really kind of like, it's all coming from a good place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that if we can just acknowledge that and hold that, then it organically drops away a little bit, because when we're tendering to the core of why we're being trying to be perfect.
Mm.
Because yeah, I think just trying to release it or drop it isn't actually the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know if that lands with you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're also coming back to that deeper why, like the reasons why we continue to persist in things that are deeply uncomfortable for us, even though
Mm,
they're not only not going to be done the way that we want them, they quite possibly are going in a totally different direction than we first thought. And having
mm,
that deeper connection to why, and also to God or to source, to yourself, to being able
mm-hmm.
to say, and I've got the big jet now.
Oh, they've come from Newcastle up to Byron.
There they go. They're coming along.
Mm,
Yeah, to be okay with, the being okay with, of like the deep surrender
mm,
of knowing you have zero control anyway. So just how can I best show up right now in this moment? What's going to be
mm,
possible for me right now?
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
If I want to show up that way, what am I going to have to let go of?
Yeah.
You know, maybe a bit of my ego, but I think that's probably the biggest, more challenging part is how to sort of identify when it's the ego and when
Mm,
it's the wanting to persist. You know, like
mm-hmm.
how do we navigate that? And I'd love to know if you have any little daily practices for perfectionism or in the creative process, if there's anything that helped you to sort of keep on track. Because as I'm hearing it, it's a picture book. It's taken a
Mm,
year. There's been an arch here. And I
mm,
also then want to move into self publishing because I know people have
mm,
had questions about that. But just if
mm,
there's anything that you have around perfectionism as a practice for people, like if they if there's something that you do or did in your creative process along with saying this is my deeper why. Do you have your why
mm.
up, or is there a way that you kind of, or maybe it's in your book that you've done this, because I hear you say it's the book is actually about nature and the processes of nature and how nature
Mm,
helps us.
mm. Um, I don't know. I I think I do things so organically,
Mm-hmm.
that I'm not a routine. Yes, I'm a Reiki therapist, but I don't get up and meditate for 15 minutes and I don't do this and I don't do that. I am very much more about tuning into what I need on the day.
Beautiful.
And that changes. We're meant to again, we're meant to change. It's nature. We have seasons. We have times where we have the capacity to be really diligent and create rhythms and routines in our day. And then we have other times where we completely drop all the balls, and that's normal. We're meant to be like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not the person that will say to you, "Oh yes, I do this and I do this and I do this and it helps me with my perfectionism." Because I think that my perfectionism isn't something that is a challenge every day either. Like it's not
Mm-hmm.
something that shows up every day that I need to have support with. Um, but when it comes out, I think I'm so tuned in to who I am and my intuition that I pick up on it really quickly. And I meet her. I meet little Katie where she's at. And I acknowledge it and I speak it out loud. So one thing that really I think helps me, and the whole reason we're doing this is for our children, right? Whether it's
Mm-hmm.
our children that we
Mm-hmm.
have, whether it's our children we're going to have, or it's the people around us in our community.
Mm.
When we heal ourselves, we heal the world. So when I am
Mm.
working through anything, I think the power in vocalizing that and talking that through with my family is so much more beneficial than me going into a room and meditating for 15 minutes to fix it. You know what I mean?
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'll often something that helps me is I might say, look, this is what's happening here, but what I'm feeling is this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that helps my children to see that I'm not necessarily, and my husband as well, I'm not reacting from nowhere. It's actually
Mm.
because I'm feeling something in a
Mm-hmm.
response to whatever it is that's happening. And
Yeah.
then I might come in with, okay, how can we fix this? Or what do I need to do? Or I'm going to take some big deep breaths. Do you want to help me? Or let's put some music on. We need to shift this energy. Come on, everyone, get in the car. We're going. Well, whatever it is, like I think that that sort of just being really honest. That's what all it
Mm-hmm.
is being
Mm-hmm.
honest and acknowledging where you're at.
Yeah.
Um, but the key is I can do that now because I've done so much work to get there. Um, it's all the work that everyone else hasn't seen that gets me to this spot. And
Mm.
that's kind of the stuff that people don't see, the hard work, or the reason why you've had to do the hard work in the first place. We've
Mm-hmm.
all got a story, we've all come from somewhere. And that's why Reiki has changed my life, because it's just helped me to know who I am so deeply, um, and be able to balance that in a way, and nurture that, and come back to connection, come
Mm.
back to what matters most,
Mm-hmm.
and that alleviates that perfectionism.
Mm.
Is that a good answer?
Oh, it's deep, deep,
Perfect?
deep and full. Totally perfect answer. Thank you. Yeah,
Mm,
and I love something you said in there. I mean, so many beautiful takeaways, but one in particular is when we heal ourselves, we heal the world,
mm,
and that we're doing the work, the unseen work on a daily basis, not just for ourselves, but who we're becoming and who other
mm,
people then get to become in our presence, and how that on flows into creating a better world.
mm. Yeah,
And
it's all
through,
worth it.
yeah, through practice is what I'm hearing
Yeah.
too. And something that is on a lot of people's minds that reached out was, what is self-publishing? What is that? How do you do it? What was your process with it? How come you decided to self-publish?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what that's about? Could you give us
Well,
any insights?
uh, look, I'm so glad you've asked this, because, oh man. So, one, one,
Mm.
self-publishing for me was easier, quicker,
Yeah.
more affordable, probably.
Mm.
Um, it doesn't mean, yeah. So for me, I mean, it's different for different people, and there's definitely benefits for both.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I found with self-publishing is, even though it is actually really simple, really, really simple,
Mm.
um, to do in terms of steps and what you need to do, it was so hard to find really clear, concise instructions. Even
Wow.
chat GTP, like, I just was like, what do I do? How do I do it? Like, where do I start? And it was so elusive. It was like, yeah, you need to do this, but there's some really, and maybe it might support, if anyone's interested, like, reach out to me. And what I might do is write down the steps of what I
Mm.
did, and I can chuck it on my website or send them an email or something, because it was actually so easy in the long run, but I had the biggest block on it. And I ended up, I had to really ask for help and be like, this is so simple and I feel so silly, but I don't know what to do, and it's all too scary. Feels really official. Um, but then once you do it, so it's so easy, it's ridiculous. Um, and the hard part is the marketing. So when you publish through a publishing company, it takes at least 1 to 2 years for the process,
Wow.
to do that, whereas self-publishing just takes as long as you take to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so you could do it in a week and then send it to print, if that makes sense. Like, it's
Mm-hmm.
not a long process. But publishing, you've got to go through so many hoops. With you, when you go get published, they will often change your words, or they'll want to have input into the illustrations and all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't have full autonomy. Um, but then it's the hard bit is the marketing. So when you go to publisher, then they will, you'll see your book in bookstores and Kmart and this and that and whatever. Whereas self-publishing, it's all on you. So
Mm.
that works for me, because again, my book was created for my family, for my clients, and for anyone else in my world that's interested. So I feel like I have the capacity to market it myself. So I'm thinking, gift stores. I've got a few local bookstores that are happy to do it. I've got friends and family over Australia where I can send them, and like, people want me to come do a reading at the school, or can go into preschools and libraries, all that sort of stuff to sell it. But that's the work. Like you've got to do that to sell your
Mm.
book, you know. But I'm happy to do that because I want to, and I think because I've got a teaching background, I am comfortably in front of groups, and I can really sort of launch off the book. Um, and in all honesty, the other thing is that I am interested in getting more speaking gigs, and so I think that once I've got this book, I can also sort of feel a bit more confident that I do have a strong message to share.
Mm.
Because I think in so many industries, we need this perfection message to come through. And so I'm hoping that then the book will sort of work in that way where I can sell the book, but I can also use the book to sell me. You know, there's just this sort of cycle that I think hopefully it should all work together. But if you are somebody who isn't so comfortable in speaking and marketing and putting yourself out there, then publishing is might be better because they do that all for you and you can sit in the
Exactly.
background and just let it sort of simmer away. Um, so yeah, I've got a whole bunch of work ahead of me.
Oh, beautiful. Well, thank you so much, Katie, for sharing that you would be open for other people to contact you. Your information will be in the show notes,
Yeah, I would love that.
your website, and the links to some of the work that you have mentioned here, including the links to your Instagram account with the beautiful poems. And if you would like to share, because I know that people are listening in right now, wherever you're tuning in, I just want to say thank you as well. And
Mm,
that we've been having this conversation. It's not the end of the conversation, but we've been having this conversation with Katie, and she's been telling us about her book, Brilliantly Imperfect. Perfectly
perfectly
Imperfect. Brilliantly Imperfect. Um, that's all of us, isn't it? Perfect
yeah,
and
and
imperfect and
brilliant.
brilliant all at the same time. We're holding
That's
both and.
yeah, that's
And something that I wanted to ask was, and it's kind of slipping away from me now.
right.
Oh, was around the book. So could you give us, can you show us anything from the book and tell us where you're up to now? Because for those of you tuning in, Katie and I actually, we met and had this beautiful fireside chat almost a year ago.
Hmm.
It's a little less than a year ago when she was going around Australia. We just connected instantly and our kids connected too. And it was just such a beautiful moment we got to share. And that's where this connection has sort of started from. And I got to follow Katie's journey, and me seeing her step out and write this book has been a big part of this whole collaboration that you're listening to right now. So I'm so excited and grateful for that. And I'd love if you wanted to speak a little bit about your book or show us any illustrations or tell us where you're up to with the book right
Mm.
now.
Well, I don't have any illustrations on me. I'd have to go through my stuff. But it's all over my Instagram. If you're interested, just go there. You'll see bits and pieces. And I've got videos of myself working on it and my kids as well, which is nice. You probably go to the Reels, is probably where you'll find them. But I it's actually due. So I also printing is a whole nother ball game, which I didn't talk about. A big part of self-publishing. You've got to sort that out yourself. I decided to do local printing, which isn't as cost effective for myself, but it was much more attainable and achievable.
Mm.
Anyway, so it's at the printers now and it's due to be picked up on Wednesday. So it's a local printer here in my own suburb. And I will be picking the books up on Wednesday if all goes to plan, unless something happens. Um, I can't wait. And I'm so nervous. Oh my God. I'm so nervous to see it in print form because I just hope that it's everything I envisioned it to be. I'm
Mm.
so like, oh gosh, what's it gonna be like, you know? And I think this is part of my perfectionism is often I
Mm.
won't finish a project or I'll do it for a little bit and then I'm like, okay, that's done, and I'll never go back to it. And to see something finished is really challenging that feeling of if I don't finish, I can't fail. And so
Mm.
that's where I'm at the moment. I'm on Friday. So, and because my whole thing was I kept saying, I just want to have it for Mother's Day. Because
Mm.
this book is more for, well, it's for the children, but it's for the mother heart. And I really wanted to have it for Mother's Day to be able to give out then. Um, so it arrives on Wednesday. On Friday, I'm doing a soft launch for friends, family, and some of my VIB clients. We're going to head to the park and I'll set up for a couple of hours and have books there available for anybody that wants to grab them, and everyone can give me huge cuddles, celebrate. And then I'll do an official launch where I plan to do a family fun day and really kind of do like have immersive nature stuff and drawing stuff and really kind of give people a really fun day or morning.
Mm.
But yeah, I'm due to pick it up this week. Oh, like
Woo!
so today's Friday, right? So
Yeah.
this time next week it'll absolutely be in my hands.
Wow.
Oh,
Woohoo! I love that. Thanks for sharing a bit of your own process there, that this is part of you beating perfectionism too, just living with it and saying, "Yeah, let's go. Let's see what it's like." I can't wait to hear from you and see what your reactions are and how this beautiful book of yours, Perfectly Imperfect, lands in the world and
mm,
finds its way out there as you grow and expand too into your great work. And I'm sure
yeah.
that everybody here would love to find out where they can get your book. So, can you tell us right now where's the best place to find your book when your book is out, and where's the best place to connect with you?
Yeah. So my website is where I will be selling my book. Which I'm sure you'll put the links down. It's just my name. Um, and
So that's KatieStephenson dot
Yep,
com.
It's
Dot
yeah.
me.
No, sorry. It's with katiestephenson.au and Stevenson with a PHENSON. Anyway, I'm sure just have a look in the notes. But so the book will be on the website. And then if you're local to Newcastle, you can come and do a local collection probably. Just reach out to me. And if you want to get in contact, Instagram is the best place. So again, that's just with Katie Stephenson. That's where I am. I hang out there a lot. And yeah, I'll be posting the book out. So I'm just taking it one step at a time, to be really honest. I haven't set
Mm.
up pre-sale because part of that was a pricing thing. I can't price it until I actually have it in my hands. That's a bit of a integrity piece for me to make sure that I know that that's what I feel like it's worth. And I'm such a tactile person that I'm like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I need to have it in my hands before I can decide what this product is worth. So there's no pre-sale, but just on my website, Instagram. Yeah, come and see me.
Beautiful. I love that. And
Mm.
one thing that I like to ask everybody, because we're putting together a playlist, is if you have a song or an anthem that you rock
Mm,
out to or gets you in state or that your kids love.
yeah, I knew you were going to say this, and I had to be really honest. I just don't have anything at the moment. I just, oh yeah, I don't. But one song that I do sing with the kids is when anyone's not well or we're feeling burnt out, is "Every Little Cell in My Body Is Happy." Do you know that song?
I don't.
So
Ooh.
it's like it's sort of done in a way that's for kids. But there's a whole bunch of different versions. So maybe if you go and find one and find a version that you like, but it talks about every little cell in my body is happy, every little cell in my body is well. And it's just a really nice song to sing when you need to raise those vibrations.
Mm.
So often I'll sing it on the way to school with the kids or whatever. Um, and I just, yeah, I'm like a walking musical at my house, but it's just random stuff, usually stuff I'm making up myself. Yeah.
I, I love it. Walking musical, words on the walls, mantras, things that are
Yeah.
keeping you going
Yeah.
and thriving in your life. Katie, I know you have appointments after this, so I just
Mm.
want to say thank you so much for honoring us in this space. Those of you who are listening, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Katie, for bringing your brilliance and your imperfection and your perfection to this show, to Her Brave Story podcast. I'm so grateful that we got to connect again and so
Yeah.
close to the time of the release of your beautiful book, Perfectly
Yeah.
Imperfect.
Yeah, thank you. And also, I was going to say too, if any clients or people, your community, if they've got a special shop or a local bookstore or something
Yes.
that they think this would um, fit well in, then please reach out because I will be also doing wholesale for people that, good matches when we're aligned. So,
Absolutely, I love that, and we'll absolutely have all those show notes there. And with katiestephenson.au is where you can find Katie right away, and she's also on Instagram. But yes, please do come check out the show notes for
mhm.
those of you who are traveling on the internet right now, as long as you're not driving when you're tuning in. And Katie, I'm not sure where you are with your time frame. Do you have a few more minutes, or is this a good time for you to go? Or
Maybe 3 minutes. I
three
really do
minutes?
have to
Okay, great,
go. Yeah.
great. 3 minutes. So three
Okay.
minutes for our listeners who have tuned in here to hear your voice and hear from you. Is there anything that you'd like to leave someone with today that they know if they're starting out on a journey new, or just some advice from your heart?
Mm. If there was anyone that's wanting to do a project, maybe this has ignited something in you or reminded you of a project that you've wanted to do, but for whatever reason felt held back. Um, I would encourage you to take just really small, imperfect, inspired action. If something inspires you, just take that action, release or sort of try not to focus on the form and what the outcome might be, but instead just the feeling of what you're feeling in your body, but the feeling that that project might bring you. Really, I
Mm,
think no matter what we do in life, and this is actually something that I've learnt through my work in early childhood, we can do anything. It can be as
mm,
simple as simple as simple, as long as we have intention,
mm,
and as long as it makes meaning to us, then that's the impact. It's I think if there's something that you're sitting on and you think, oh, I want to do that, really ask yourself why. What is it that I want? Is it, yeah,
mm,
and just take little actions, journal it, like brain dump it, get it all out on paper. um, Talk to people who support you and see the best in you and want to see the best for you.
mm,
Just start brainstorming with your community, or the more that we're vulnerable and the more that women actually acknowledge that they have things they want to do or they've got these little seeds within them, the more that it kind of ignites other people, and all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I've thought about doing this and I've thought about doing that. We think about doing all these things, but it's not until we talk about it and
mm,
really get it out of our heart, um, then that's when stuff starts to happen and things come to you. Um, and I think, we've all got a gift to give. And
yeah.
if you've got something in you, just take tiny little actions and find your
Mm.
cheerleaders. Um, if you need one, I'm here. I love to cheer anyone on. If they've got a project, I am just like, yes, you can do this. Um, yeah, I think that's probably what I would love. That's, the essence of this book is I just really, like I said, I want my children to believe that they can do something. They have, but I
Mm,
want their children to. I want other women to as well to go, oh, I can do that. It doesn't have to turn out perfectly, but I can do
mm,
it. That's probably what I'd like for people to take home.
mm. That's so generous and heartfelt. Thank you, Katie.
Mm. Oh, are you there?
I
Um,
am.
I'm so grateful for being here.
Mm,
I really am so grateful. And like you said, meeting you, Crystal, by the fire that night, We It was so lovely. I think it was actually the day before Mother's Day, or
Mm.
a few days before Mother's Day. So it was really
Mm.
was bang on a year. Because I remember I spent Mother's Day at that campground. So
Mm.
it was, yeah, I remember that day. Um, and being able to just, like we just left. That was our first stop on our big trip, and which was a big trip that wasn't really a big trip compared to a lot of other people. But I remember
Still
just,
massive trip.
yeah, I just remember having this yearning to sort of, um, I don't know, just start something. Like we were just at the beginning and I was wide eyed. I was like, what are we doing? Mind you, it had been pouring rain as well. I don't know if you remember that. But it was just so lovely to have the first person that I met on my trip be you. It gave me such a sense of hope and encouragement to just be like, God, there's good people in this world. Who else am I going to meet? Yeah. Do you know that thing? There's this saying, it's like a notion or a saying or a belief. I heard it from this book that I read of this beautiful girl. And she said something along the lines of like, I never know when I'm going to meet my next best friend.
Mm.
And she sort of would
Mm.
walk into any coffee shop or anywhere and just have this feeling of like, I wonder who's going to be my next friend. And I sort of do that now because I think I already almost did do it, but without having the cognitive awareness around it. But after hearing that, I feel like that. I just think, wow, I've got
Mm.
so many people to meet. I can't, like, life's so good when you meet good people. And that's what you were for me on our trip. And then we came across all the cranky boomers and their dogs. Anyway, it was such a nice night to meet you.
Oh, it's so beautiful in a national park too. The wild animals and just yeah, it was our children dancing around with lights and just being free and having fun as being in the rhythms of nature as
Yeah.
well and deeply connecting right in that moment as two women can when they're willing and able to just drop in. Like I just felt like we just dropped in like two old friends. We're like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's pull up a chair, let's talk
Yeah.
about life and all those things, the deep stuff that we were
Yeah.
talking deep right away. And that's who
Yeah.
you are, Katie, as well.
Yeah.
That's really who you are. You are a deep, thoughtful, compassionate, deeply passionate as well about life and living life. And you're out there living life and you're giving your gifts and you're exploring and you're stretching and you're being of service to others by just showing up the way you are and then continuing to take those actions to show, hey, look, you can get in touch with me like this. I'm willing to help you with that. Come in and receive my gifts. And I think it's so wonderful that you've written this book, it is a picture book, but it's also a written book in conjunction with nature and the natural rhythms and your natural rhythms of life. And I can't wait to hear, and we'll have to have you on the podcast again to hear about the book. And yes, that anybody who's out there listening right now, wherever you are, please, if if you have a space that could help Katie get her book out into the world, please reach out to her or to me and we can get you in touch. So thank you very, very much to everybody tuning in. Your time is very valuable. It is the most precious commodity you have, so we don't take it lightly that you have shared that gift with us today. And I trust that these lessons and courage that Katie has poured out of her heart and her soul will land where they're meant to land today and
Mm,
that they are worth sharing. So
mm,
if you are out there to help me and Katie and the other women who come on Her Brave Story amplify women, please share this episode, subscribe, and check out the show notes so you can get in touch with Katie. And I'm going to
mm.
be waiting here next time you hit play with a smile on your dose of Her Brave Story. So, wherever you are today, I want you to know that you are worth it. Thank you so much, Katie. I know she has to go. Wherever you are, you got to go. So, thrive on Brave Souls. I'm going to go out with a little bit of music because we can and because it's something new to try. Let's go. Okay. It's, oh, yeah. Maybe I have to turn it up. Live. There we go. It may or may not play. This is our theme music, if you don't know and you haven't known. It's actually licensed. All right, that's how we're going to roll out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thrive on Brave Souls. Thank you, Katie. Aloha.